In the next couple of tutorial videos, we're going to see how to use the conditional statements in Java. In this particular video, however, we're going to see how to use the if and else conditional statements. So it's very important that you've understood all of the notions that we saw in the previous couple of videos. For instance, the equality, relational and conditional operators, and also the truth tables. So if you're not yet comfortable using all of those, I suggest that you relook all of the videos, the previous couple of videos, and that you try a few examples in Eclipse just so you can get the hang of it. So this is where it gets interesting now. So what we're going to do to start off is we're going to explain exactly what a conditional statement is. Well, a conditional statement is an expression that produces a true or false result. You can then use that result as you see fit in your program. So in Java, you have three main conditional statements. As I said, in this video, we're only going to look at the if and else statements. So let's start off by looking at this statement, which is called if. The if statement is the most basic of all of the conditional statements. It tells your program to execute a certain section of code only if a particular test evaluates to true. So in the example here, we have two variables that we're testing and comparing between each other, x and y. So typing if x is equal to y, remember two equals for testing, otherwise you're assigning the value of y to x, or vice versa. If x is equal to y, then system out print line x is equal to y. So basically, if x is equal to y, if that statement is true, we want to display the following sentence: x is equal to y. So let's try a different example in Eclipse directly. So go to Eclipse here, and then let's start by creating let's start by creating a variable named, let's say, user, and we'll assign a value to that variable, let's say 17. So the variable user is equal to 17. Let's start then by typing our conditional statement. So if user is equal to 17, open up the brackets, then we type our statement, system.out.println user is 17, like so. So to recap, we created a variable named user with a value of 17. We then wrote our conditional statement: if user is equal to 17, then we want to display, if this condition is true, we want to display the following sentence: user is 17. So let's try this out by clicking on run up here, and as you can see, user is 17, the condition is true, so it displays the sentence that we asked it to. In the next step, I'm going to show you how to use the if and end statement. So meet me in the next step. So now that we've seen what a if statement is, let's look at what a if-else statement is. And if I can loop that back to my example here, you're probably asking yourself, well, yeah, if the statement user is equal to 17, then yes, we want to display this sentence, user is 17. But what happens if user is not equal to 17, and let's say it's equal to 15? Well, let's run the program here, see what happens. Press OK. And as you can see, nothing happens, nothing is displayed. And that's because we haven't written a part of code that deals with that condition, if user is not equal to 17. And that is what the if-else statement is for. An if-else statement provides a secondary path of execution when an if clause evaluates to false. So in this example, if x is inferior to y, then we want to display the following sentence: x is smaller than y. Else, otherwise, you can translate else by otherwise. Otherwise, if x is not inferior to y, then we want to display the following sentence: x is bigger than y. Seems logical, because if x is not smaller than y, it's obviously bigger. So that's what a if-else statement does. So let's try that out in Eclipse, continuing our first example. So let's start by typing else, open the brackets up, and then system.out.println. So if user isn't 17, we want to type out this sentence: user is not 17, basically. So this brings me to an important point in the Java language, and that's the point of indentation. Well, what is an indentation? Well, the indentation is basically this little space. So for example, just to make it clear, let's say I was typing my code like this. So I typed else, opened up the brackets, and I went to the next line, and as you can see, system.out.println is right underneath else. Well, what I would do is I would press tab on my keyboard, and I would have my indentation space. Now this is important because, let's say, for the moment, as you can see, we're typing basic and very small programs, so it's not really a big deal. But when you start typing, when you start making programs that have, let's say, 1,000 or more lines of code, when you're rereading your code and searching for errors, if your code isn't displayed, if the layout of your code isn't displayed in a coherent manner, you're going to spend a lot of time searching every single line. So that's why indentation is very important. When you type a clause or a condition and you have a statement in that condition on the next line, it's very important to have an indentation space, just so it's easier to read your code. So that's very important when you're programming in Java, to use indentation spaces, and you do that by pressing tab on your keyboard. So coming back to our code here, let's read it from the beginning. If user is equal to 17, then we want to print out this sentence: user is 17. Otherwise, else, we want to print out this sentence: user is not 17. And as you can see, the value of user is currently at 15, so it should display this sentence. Let's see if that's the case. Let's click on run. So as you can see, the result, user is not 17, is displayed. So that's how you use a if-else statement. In the last and final step, I'm going to show you how to use another statement, which is basically the continuation of this one. So meet me in the next step. So in this last and final step, we're going to see at something that's called a if-else-if statement. Now what that is basically a continuation of a if-else statement. It's when you have a succession of if statements in the same program. So to best represent this, we're going to start our program from scratch, and we're going to regroup everything we've learned up until now into that program. So let's erase all of this and start anew. So let's start by creating our variable user, which will assign a value of 45 to. Then our first conditional statement, if user is inferior or equal to 18. Open up the brackets, Okay, open up the brackets like so. Next line, as you can see, the indentation is automatically done. If it's not, just simply press on Tab on your keyboard like so. And then we type out our clause. So system dot out dot print line user is 18 or younger. Just bear with me. I'm going to type out the entire program. I'll explain everything in detail at the end. We'll go through it step by step. So just for now, just follow what I'm doing. So now we're going to close our clause with the brackets like so. Next clause. Else if user is superior to 18 and user is inferior to 40, open up our brackets. Again with the indentation, system.out.println user is between 19 and 39. Close our clause with the brackets like so. New condition. New conditional statement, sorry. Else if user is equal to 45 or user is equal to 50. Let's open up our brackets. System.out.println user is either 45 or 50, and then we'll finish our program off by typing closing, sorry. So we have to close off our clause, and then we'll finish off by typing this condition, else system.out.println user is older than 40. Okay, and as you see there's an error here, and that's why I've forgotten equals, like so. So there we go. So let's start from the beginning. We created a variable user which is equal to 45 at the moment. Then we've created a condition in a conditional statement in our program that's going to test if user is inferior or equal to 18, then we want to print out this sentence, user is 18 or younger. Otherwise, if, so this is where we're going to see our else if statements. Otherwise, if user is superior to 18 and if user is inferior to 40, so basically if the user is between 18 and 40, then we want to print out this sentence, user is between 19 and 39. Otherwise, if user is equal to 45 or if user is equal to 50, then we want to print out this sentence, user is either 45 or 50. And if none of the above are true, then we want to print out user is older than 40. So currently the user is 45, so let's test. So what we should get is, since he's 45, we should get this sentence here: user is either 45 or 50. Let's see if that's the case. Let's run the program, and we get that sentence displayed here. So let's play around with the value here. Let's say he's 35, for example. I just run the program. User is between 19 and 39. Let's say he's 80. User is older than 40. So that's how you use if statements. It's a succession of if statements. So what I would suggest to you is to type this program out yourselves and play around with it. Change the operators if you wish, just so you can get a better feel of how to use the if-else conditional statements.